This is the 4 levels of knowledge as I understand them, and I hope that it helps you understand them as well. Here we go.
We have all witnessed it. The person who marches forward with absolute, unwavering certainty right before making a spectacularly terrible impact with reality. This recurring comedy of errors happens because most of us spend a significant portion of our lives trapped at the very bottom of a framework called the 4 stages of competence. To reach actual mastery, you must climb this staircase. It's a rigid, one-way progression of intellectual awareness. The first step is unconscious incompetence. Here, you don't know that you don't know. You have a massive knowledge gap, but are completely unaware it exists. Living on this step is easy. It is where blissful ignorance lives, but it is also the primary source of pointless arguments, mismanaged lives, and entirely avoidable suffering. Escaping this bliss is the only way to see things as they actually are, even if the climb ruins your peace of mind. Step 2 is conscious incompetence. You take a step up, and the fog clears just enough for you to realize exactly how little you actually understand. It is the humbling feeling of calling the electric company to complain about a power outage, convinced the solution is simple and the workers lazy. But then you stare up at the scale of the infrastructure, the transformers, the high voltage lines, and the interlocking power grid, and you accept that your technical understanding is effectively zero. Most people stay right here. They are perfectly happy to acknowledge their ignorance if it means they don't have to put in thousands of hours required to fix it. But this awareness of failure is the learning begins gate. Without this specific discomfort, no further progress is possible. If you choose to keep climbing, you reach conscious competence. You can perform the skill, but only through heavy, exhausting mental concentration. Think of a golf swing that requires total active effort, reminding yourself to keep your head down, your elbow tucked, and your hips square, all at the same time. Mental tasks work the same way. You don't instinctively know the year 1812. You must exert force to retrieve that date from memory before it slips away again. This is the most tiring phase of the journey because it requires constant, vigilant attention to prevent your performance from failing. Eventually, the friction disappears and you reach unconscious competence. Mastery becomes second nature, and your brain stops needing to think about the mechanics at all. In this state, isolated facts weave themselves into a coherent timeline. You see the deep history of human ancestors and their disappearance as a single fluid story. That thread stretches forward from the nomadic tribes to the ancient massive structures of Mesopotamia. You see the growth of empires and the bustle of trade hubs as inevitable links in a chain, rather than a list of dates to be memorized. When someone mentions the War of 1812, you don't look for a number. You see the context, the banking institutions, the revolutions, and the global chaos that made the event a certainty. Mastery functions like catching a ball. Your body reacts on instinct, and results are actually better when your conscious mind stops interfering with the process. For most people, and for traditional education, this effortless autopilot is the final destination. But a fifth tier exists past the autopilot: reflective competence. This is where a master regains the ability to consciously deconstruct their own skill. This stage is about the transfer of knowledge. It is the difficult work of taking an instinctual habit and breaking it back down so someone else can learn to do it. A Jibblet is someone who lives in this mode, a person who intentionally steps off their own autopilot to engage in this act of deconstruction. You can see this behavior in a professor whose infectious enthusiasm for a topic forces an entire room of students to stop and look at a concept through a new lens. Pure mastery is a dead end if it cannot be articulated. The Jibblet serves as the bridge, translating instinct back into information for the next generation. This habit of deconstruction makes the Jibblet a frustrating presence for mainstream institutions. When you spend your time taking apart how things work, you eventually point that same lens at the government and the social systems around you. Gibblets use their hyper-awareness to challenge dogma. They break down social codes and institutional rules with the same clinical curiosity they use to master a golf swing or a historical timeline. By refusing to leave their critical thinking on autopilot, These skeptical, open-minded individuals act as a societal brake, preventing people from doing stupid things on a loop. Mastery allows you to catch the ball without thinking, but true wisdom begins when you hold the ball, stop the cycle, and ask the one question autopilot can't answer.
What's wrong with you? Very important question. Heard this word going around, Jibblet. I think it should be a nice word. Thank you for watching.